Right, what is going on, everyone? Hope everybody is all good. So, I wanted to record this video about how many sets do we actually need in the gym for hypertrophy and to stimulate any sort of muscle growth gains or adaptations. What do we really need? Now, I'm always talking about this more or less every day, more or less on Twitter. I'm always in contact with all my clients, and we're discussing all this stuff in my own training as well. I'm always thinking about this and the mechanisms behind everything, and I'm always getting questions on Twitter because I'm always talking about that we don't need as many sets as a lot of people think, and it's always met with a lot of confusion because a lot of people tend to just do too much work in the gym. And the thought of doing less work, it's a big mental shift for them because people are scared they think if they don't do as much work, they're not going to get as much gains. People associate doing more work with more gains, but that isn't always the case when it comes to training and getting bigger. So, I want to get into it. Let's get into the first point and what we're going to talk about today. So, how common is this, right? Let's say we're training chest. Now, the average gym bro, when you look across gyms nowadays, how many of them are going to follow a session, something very similar to this? They're going to come in and they're going to do some bench press 4x10, incline dumbbell press 4x10, then a chest press machine 4x12, cable fly, because why not, for 4 sets of 15, and then they're going to cap things off just to get a pump. 3 sets of 20 with push-ups. So that's a total of 19 chest sets, and then they'll come back and maybe do that in a couple of days' time again. So 19 total sets for chest. Okay, now as we know, and followers of me for a long time will know, this is not the way we want to do things. Anybody who is training hard in the first place would not be able to handle this. And then anybody who wants to get the best results possible for the least amount of, shall we say, time spent in the gym or fucking around, anyone knows that this is not what we want to do. This is completely a lot of waste of bullshit, a lot of junk volume in this. So, what do we want to do? What's a better example? Okay, so something like this. What's a better way, right? So, we're going to split that volume instantly, so we're not just going to cram everything into one session. So let's say we train over Monday. We'd hit bench press for 3 sets of 10, incline dumbbell press 3 sets of 10. Thursday, then we'd hit 3x12 chest press machine and 2x15 cable fly. Now, why would we do that? Now, if we hit 5 to 6 sets in each session for the muscle group, that's going to be enough to stimulate muscle growth. Doing any more than around 5 to 6, 6 to 8 sets per muscle group, at that point we're beating a dead horse. We've already stimulated enough muscle growth that we're going to get out of the session. Now, to go up and do 19 sets for chest in one workout, it doesn't make sense. Now, we'd hit that on Monday. You'd have 3 days to recover. This would be the stimulus for the body to make the adaptations. You'd have 3 days of recovery and growth, and then you come back in again and you hit another 5 sets, and then that's going to stimulate the adaptation, and then you're also going to be growing again for a couple of days after until you come back in for Monday. So you're in this continuous cycle of your chest is always, we've got the stimulus and the adaptation, we've got enough volume to stimulate muscle growth, and we've also got enough recovery. Now, if we hit that 2 times a week, 5 to 6 sets per session, now that's a total of 11 sets for the week. We're more or less cutting our volume in half for what you might have done in this bullshit workout. We're actually doing less work. So how does that work? A lot of people, everyone scratches their head with this because the majority of people in gyms nowadays, they will go for this. They will think that this is much more effective. Now let me tell you one of the big reasons why it's not. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit of the science of things. Is there a point of diminishing returns? Now, as you know with me, I am not just evidence-based. I am not just based everything on the science. I use a lot of my own anecdotal experience, a lot of the stuff I've seen with clients, and I blend in some science. I do not just take all of my information from a graph or a study. I'm not like that. I'm not that way inclined. Again, I like to blend everything together. But one of the best in the industry, and he has a lot of good information that you can take on board and utilise, is Chris Beardsley from Strength and Conditioning Research. Now, he's been putting out a ton of great content for years, but this has been out for quite a while now. And not only is the science backing this up now, I always say that the science is behind the bros, but this is something that I found out myself anyway from my own training experience. I'm working with a lot of people. If you see here, there's a point of diminishing return. So if we have a look at the bottom here, this is our set numbers, okay? Now, if we have a look at one set, the first set in the workout is the greatest in stimulation, because we went from doing nothing to causing an adaptation. So the first set is going to stimulate a good amount of muscle growth. Then as we get into set 2 and set 3, the next 2 sets are also very, very effective at stimulating hypertrophy, okay? Then as we get, this is the money range, I like to call it. As we get to 4, 5, 6, sets 4 through to 8 provide only a slight increase in hypertrophy, but then they begin to cause progressively more and more calcium iron related fatigue. Not just calcium iron related fatigue, we have a lot more systemic fatigue and just more, shall we say, joint stress by doing more sets if it's not needed. If we get all of the, or 90% or 95% of the gains that we're going to get from this 4 to 5, 4 to 6 range here, if you see here, this is the point of diminishing returns as we start getting to around 6 sets. So to do 4, 5, 6 sets, that's the perfect range to be in. When we start creeping over to 7, 8, look, it says here, more than 8 sets per muscle is likely to not cause any more hypertrophy, but it's about to cause a lot more fatigue. Now, people might think, oh, well, I don't care about that. Well, you will care about that in a couple of days' time when you can't come in and train again because you fucked yourself up. Training is all about what we can get in and then get some good work in and then get out and recover from and then come back again. So then why would we push to this 7, 8, 9 mark, or 7, 8, 9 sets per muscle group, per workout, when we can get just the same amount of gains, 4, 5 and max 6 sets per workout? Why would we push into this zone? I spoke about this on Twitter today. It's like you have a job. Now you work, let's say you work 9 to 5. Now you're going to get paid exactly the same working from 9 to 5. Then if you stayed and worked overtime and you worked 9 till 8, you get paid exactly the same. You're working an extra 3 hours to get the same amount of money. Why would you do that? It's exactly the same as this. Why would you then go and do an extra 3, 4 sets in a workout for a muscle group if you're just going to get the exact same gains? It makes no sense. It's a waste of your training time and training economy. Now, not only is the research backing up some of, as I say, my anecdotal experience and what I've seen with other people, just I think to my own training sessions myself. Let's say I'm training quads. If I do 3 sets of hack squats, real good sets of hack squats, I am already starting to feel smoked. And then I may do 2 to 3 sets of lunges or leg extension, and that may be 5 to 6 sets. And after I've done that, my quads are smoked, my quads are toast. That's after about 5 or 6 sets. Now, for me then to go and do more quad work after I've done that and I've sort of annihilated them after 5 or 6 sets, I get no benefit out of doing any more work. I felt that myself. You just feel like your set quality is awful when you start getting past that 6, 7, 8 range. Everything there is a point of diminishing returns. And again, this is not me just going fully off research because I'm not that way inclined, but this all makes sense when you look at anecdotal experience and what I've seen work with a lot of people. At a certain point, you are just beating a dead horse. So it's all about quality over quantity. In order for this to get the most out of this, and to be able to do 4 or 5 sets and call it a day, we need to have our quality in check. Okay, we need to have good execution of every single set that we do. We need to make sure that we are controlling our reps. We're in control of the rep at all time. We could stop the rep at any portion if we needed to. Nice controlled eccentric, and we need to be as accurate as we possibly can while training the target muscle. We don't want to let other muscles take over. Let's say, for example, we're training pecs. You know, we don't want to start letting our front delt taking over too much, or using too much tricep, or just using so much momentum really bouncing off the pecs. Our arse is coming off the bench. We're using all sorts of bullshit methods to move the most amount of weight possible. That's when people end up doing more sets than they need, because they're training with their ego. They're not letting the muscle take the load, and that's why they end up doing 10, 12, 15 sets, because their training is just shite in the first place. But they won't admit that, and they can't admit that because their ego is tied up into the way they train. It's a nasty cycle to go down. So as I say, you need to be in that 0 to 2 reps in reserve mark on average, whether you want to train to failure or you want to leave 1 rep in the tank. Again, there's a lot of research which says that is there much difference between that? Is it worth the trade-off? Again, I'm not going to get into that. That's a topic for another video. As long as we're in that 0 to 2 reps in reserve mark, we're going to be okay. But again, to get to that zone, it's hard. It's hard work. You know, if you take a hack squat to maybe 1 rep in reserve where you have 1 rep in the tank, that's fucking tough. That is no easy going. Okay, so you need to be training hard. And it always comes down to this. Now, I got this response or comment on Twitter today. I posted about, I said, you probably only need 4 to 6 sets per muscle group per warehouse. I posted about this today. And someone said to me, he commented, yeah, but I just like to do work, extra work, just to ensure that I've stimulated growth. You know, it's all in my mind. That's the problem. It's a mindset shift. You do not trust yourself to do high quality work, so then you have to make up for it with extra sets. So you're not happy with just 4 to 6 sets because deep down you don't trust yourself, and you know that those 4 to 6 sets that you've done, it's probably not the best quality. So then you try and make up for it with 10, 12 sets. So again, it comes down to you and the execution of the movements, and do you trust how you train? Because if you're training properly with good execution, 4 to 6 sets per muscle group for a warehouse, it's going to be more than enough. But again, it all comes down to this mindset shift, and you need to make sure that you're locked in. One of the main benefits of this style of training, one of the things that I've always found, is that if you know that you have 5 to 6 sets, right, that's all you're going to do for that muscle group, for that warehouse, you haven't got time to waste. That every one of those sets has to be high quality, because you haven't got another 10 or 12 chances like a lot of people do. These people who are doing 12 to 15, 12 to 20 sets per warehouse, they're just throwing endless bits of shit at the wall because they don't trust their execution and they don't trust their training. If you trust your training and you trust your execution, you're going to be fine with 4 to 6 sets, but it requires a mindset shift, and you need to be honed in and ready to go for those 4 to 6 sets. No fucking around on your phone, scrolling in between sets and then just jumping on a lat pull down or a bench press. You need to be honed in, and you need to be ready to get to work and get to the 0 to 2 reps in reserve mark with good technique, making sure the muscle is the limiting factor, and just being extremely focused and not using the gym as a big socialization fucking place, or, you know, scrolling Instagram or Tinder or TikTok, whatever bullshit a lot of people do. You need to be honed in, okay? Get in the gym, stimulate any sort of muscle group or muscle growth, and then get out and recover. Why do we want to spend excessive time in the gym beating a dead horse when we don't need to? No, I love training just as much as anybody else, but if I can get in there and get out, you know, we're doing less work but high quality work, I'm going to pick that all day of the week. It just makes sense. It's just high IQ training, okay? Try it out. See for yourself. You will be pleasantly surprised. The amount of messages that I've been getting on Twitter from people who've took all my information or what I've been putting out there, people who've took this on board over the last couple of months, they're seeing better training results. They don't feel as beat up. They're recovering better in between sessions. They can actually train harder because they're not beating themselves down with excessive jump volume. A lot of people's training is just taken off. I've seen this with my own training as well over the last couple of years. I'm seeing it with clients when we're implementing this. It's a big shock for clients, because a lot of them are used to, before they come to start working with me, a lot of them are used to just doing excessive bullshit and jump volume. We come right in, we get rid of all the bullshit, and we're honed in, we're focused, high quality, and the results speak for themselves. I haven't had a client who's been unhappy with it. So take this on board, and as I say here at the bottom, be honest with your training intensity and the accuracy of how you're training. We're not just trying to move away from point A to B here if we're trying to get bigger. We need to be locked in, drop the ego, good focus and intensity on every single set, and making sure you're giving yourself the best possible chance at building muscle the right way, okay? There's no bullshit to this. Just try it out for yourself and see, okay? And I guarantee you'll be happy with your results. So anyone, any questions, any other video ideas, just drop them down below. I like making these style of videos. I'm going to make more in the coming week. So let me know any ideas. And I will talk to you all soon.